Hello and welcome back to Death for All. We're going to be going in here against a VLANDIan vassal. Hopefully we're going to be able to thin them out a little bit because they've actually been very strong recently. They're actually going into Azerai territory as we speak and are making themselves into a bit of a pain. Yes, so they have two armies up and running. I'm not entirely sure about whether they have two armies still, but the last I knew, they had two armies and they were besieging one of our nearby fiefs. And that's, of course, going to be a little bit problematic. So I'm very much hoping that we'll be able to thin them out a little bit, as I said, and hopefully we can cause a couple of fatalities, shall we say. That's the thing that we really want to have happen here. And hopefully my army, my newly acquired army, because let's face it, I've been on a recruiting spree a little bit here. I've obviously been attempting to get as many war mounts as possible too, because we need those to be able to upgrade our guys into the highest tier. So that's obviously what I'm attempting to do most of the time when I'm off screen. And other than that, we always have a significant amount of cash. Yeah, our cash is actually not too bad, surprisingly enough. And hopefully we're not going to lose too many people in our battle against this vassal. And then I'll be able to move on to the nearby vassal. There is actually another one very close to us, and hopefully we're going to be able to attack them very shortly after this. And you can see here we have an insane amount of cavalry. Our cavalry population is just enormous. I mean, really, it's almost rivaling the amount that a Khuzait vassal might actually have, which from my perspective, that's actually kind of crazy. You know, there would really be very few opportunities for other vassals that are not Khuzait to have a significant amount of cavalry here. I mean, to be fair, VLANDians, yeah, okay, you know, VLANDians do have their heavy cavalry, but they don't really have horse archers. Whereas I think the Azerai and the Empire, they're the ones that have horse archers available to them, apart from the Khuzait, of course, but they're a little bit less likely to have cavalry only, shall we say. So yeah, that obviously makes a big difference. Anyway, we're actually just going to be, should we bother taking these? Yeah, I guess I'll get the veteran caravan people and these other guys, and then we can just level up all of these. There we go, wonderful. It's only going to cost me 9 horses, which is quite good. And we also got a destrier there too. So that destrier is obviously going to make a big difference in leveling up some people. So that's actually really nice. And otherwise we have Vartar here, and hopefully we will be able to attack him. Ah, yeah, this is obviously the army that I was talking about. They must have disbanded. That seems to be what's been going on here. What's my prisoners? Okay, they're slowing me down a small amount. Let me see if I can just separate these guys a little bit. Okay, he's running away from me, but I might be able to catch him. No, I don't think so. Yeah, unfortunate. Okay, wait a minute. There's another one there, and there is... Wow, that guy's actually pretty large. He has a lot of people. Very surprised that he has so many. Anyway, let's go in here and try and fight this guy. As I say, basically just trying to eliminate pretty much anyone we can get our hands on at this moment. Let's see if I actually leveled up anything. No, my polearm skill is almost at 150, which is pretty nice. And we're just going to go straight on in here once again. Now, obviously, my main goal here is to get as many... vassals killed as possible, basically, and to get as much renown and influence as a result of those fights. Because if we can do that, we're going to be able to gain more charm skill, and that is then, and eventually, once we have 275, I'm actually not entirely sure. Do we have 275? I don't think we do. I think we're almost there. I think we are almost at 275. So if we can get to 275, then I will be very, very pleased about that, because that will then mean that we have a much greater passive income when it comes to influence. And that's obviously what we want, because we want to be able to, you know, influence a variety of different things within our faction in regards to voting and policies and all that wonderful stuff. I've got to be super careful about these guys, though. They're really going to do so much damage with their wonderful polearms, but hopefully I'm not going to get shot in the face once again. I think I actually just took a headshot. Maybe. I'm actually not entirely sure, but does a lot of damage, as you can quite clearly tell. And I'm wearing a pretty decent helmet as well. Don't think I actually got shot in the head I think I would have taken much more damage if I got shot in the head, but maybe I did. I don't know. I didn't see. But yeah, hopefully we can just get those last couple of points for my polearm skill, and then I'll be at 150, which is not bad. I wouldn't say it's amazing, but yeah, it's all right. I mean, considering I'm only getting an attribute point every 4 levels or something like that, because obviously without mods, that is the way that the leveling system works, which, in my opinion, I've spoken about this multiple times before, and I'm not going to go into it in depth right now, but I'm not a big fan of that. I would prefer to get attribute points much more often, but of course, what they're trying to do is they're trying to make it so that you have to choose what you're good at. You know, you have to choose, oh yeah, I want to be good at strength, I want to be good at social, I want to be good at intelligence, or something along those lines. You know, they want you to very much choose. However, the problem with this, and the problem with this system, is the fact that when you're attempting to do these things, you can basically just barely get to a point where you can actually be good at that one thing. So, for example, let's say that I wanted to be really good at charm skill. Well, I'm okay at it at the moment, but I think I still need 1 attribute point in social to be able to get to the maximum. I think someone actually did tell me, very helpfully by the way, thank you for this. I think someone actually said that the current rate of learning that I have is not enough without me speccing another point into the attribute. So yeah, that's obviously a bit of a problem, because that means that I would actually end up with 274, according to this person at least, instead of 275. So, well, what does that mean? Well, that means that I'm going to need to get 1 more attribute point and spend it in that. But that's the reason why I say I personally feel like if the only thing that I'm actually going to be able to get to 275 is 1 particular perk tree, and in this case, of course, it is charm skill and leadership and so on, then I don't know. I feel like that's a bit too limiting. I feel like it is way too limiting, but maybe that's just me. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Anyway, we're just going to move on here real fast. Whoa, did you see that? That piece of armor was 54,000? Was I correct in seeing that? What? Look at this thing. It literally, I mean, technically it would sell for 223,000 if that was the full price that you would be able to sell it for. But look at how crazy that is. Okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to equip that, thank you very much. 53 body armor, that's definitely going to make a huge difference to us. Let's actually just equip a bunch of our other people as well. I don't need to equip anything either, so that's really nice. Everyone is now fully kitted out. And there we have it. Okay. I increased my relation with this guy. Oh, no, wait. This guy is actually... Never mind. This guy, quote unquote, is actually one of our grandchildren. So, yes, never mind. Me increasing relation with him, yeah, that's absolutely fine. That's very funny. All right, well, anyway, let's move on. Did I get to 150? Yeah, look at that. I easily got to 150. So let's have a look here. Plus 50% when you hit the enemy in the head. Oh, okay. Well, that could be kind of useful. Yeah, why not? Let's go for that. And then riding skill. Plus 50% resistance to getting staggered while mounted. What does that mean? Plus 50% resistance to getting staggered while mounted. I actually have no idea what that means. Oh, well, let's go for that. I guess stopping? Yeah, that's probably what happens. Anyway, so yeah, I'm going to need 1 more point in social to be able to get to 275. And that's then going to enable me, well, a pretty significant amount of influence every single day, which is obviously then going to allow me to do a variety of other things within the faction. We can influence policies, we can vote on stuff, we can earn more relation with people, and so on and so forth. And maybe we can even do some other things with it, not entirely sure. But anyway, the point is, for me to need 8 in social attribute, just to be able to get 1 skill to 275, I don't know. I feel like that is a bit too costly. And maybe a bit too punishing as well, because that means that I'm not actually going to ever be able to get my control skill or my vigor skills up to 275 either. That's impossible. It's impossible for me to do that. It's impossible for me to be good at fighting, but also good at charm. But those are only 2 attribute sections, which I think is a bit weird. I think that a character should be good in at least 2 things, maybe maximum 4, but not everything, obviously. You know, if you want to make it balanced in that aspect, then of course, you know, you don't want to have a character be completely superhuman, or maybe you do. I don't know, maybe you do, but then you're going to play with mods and things like that, I guess. But what I'm trying to say is, I feel like that would be much more balanced, rather than it just literally being 1 section or stat. I mean, I don't know. I don't really care that much, but I think personally for me, I would like to see that, because from a realistic standpoint, I mean, think about it. A person is probably going to be good at more than just that one thing if you're in this kind of time. Because think about it, you know, you're going to be a good fighter, aren't you? Or you're going to be a good leader, or you're going to be a good tactician, or a good scout, or a good archer, or something like that. But you're also going to have one other thing, or maybe a few other things that you're relatively decent at. Obviously, there are those people that are only good at one thing, which is absolutely fine. But why should you be limited in an RPG? You know, it's a sandbox RPG. Anyway, that's all I'm saying. Anyway, we are hopefully going to be able to start killing some of these vassals, because it feels to me like these guys are literally just surviving like no one's business. I have no idea how they're so resilient, because it feels to me like every single other vassal that has entered a battle recently that we have seen has perished. But everyone else is literally just hanging on by a thread by the looks of things. I mean, to be fair, Pelisor has been very lucky himself. I've had a number of relatively close calls where I've gone into a battle, died, and thankfully been able to survive. But everyone else seems to be having a similar thing whenever we're up against them. Like, for example, you saw that that Urundulf guy that we're fighting right here. I just eliminated him, and he's alive. He's perfectly fine, you know, he's surviving. He's going to get back on his feet without too many difficulties, but yeah, our spouse actually did just get eliminated as well, and, well, of course, well, she survived, which is good, you know, thankfully, because that would be a pretty big deal to us, because she is our steward, you know, she is our steward. She is an absolutely amazing steward. And yeah, that's definitely someone that you don't want to lose. Anyway, we're just going to swap around these just to make sure that we've got the highest tier of unit. And then we're just going to be taking the rest. There we go. Okay, fantastic. So now we are in a bit of a pickle because I'm disorganized right now. That means I'm going to be moving very, very slowly. And these guys are going to try to, yeah, as you can see, look at that. They're trying to corner me right now. Got to get out of here. Okay, there we go. We were able to do it. Okay, so, but you see these smaller parties? These smaller parties, they want a piece of us because there's obviously a 600-strong army very close by. They're very easily going to be able to get us into the combat action there. Let me actually just take a quick look at the leaderboard. Yeah, we are still ahead of Caladog, but I'm going to go in here just purely for the fact that we'll be able to complete this relatively simply. I don't think we're going to have too many difficulties with it. I very much enjoy going into tournaments in the Empire lands. They are usually very fast, very satisfying, because I get this wonderful, wonderful polearm that can actually deal significant damage, as you can see right there. And of course, now that I have that new perk, I'm able to deal 50% additional damage whenever I hit someone in the head with a polearm. And that is a very good skill to have when you are entering a tournament, especially where you have a weapon that is not particularly going to be that damaging. Because of course it isn't, you know, it's going to be a blunt weapon, it's going to be something that is relatively low damage, but with this additional skill, it's going to deal 50% more, so it's really nice. And yeah, that's definitely something to bear in mind, actually. If there are a number of other perks, I'm sure that there are some people out there that are going to be much more well-versed in the perk selections and things like that, but I'm sure there are other perks available that can give you those kinds of bonuses. Like, for example, thrown weapons, I know for a fact, I think has something along those lines where it will deal more damage, or the thing in particular will deal more damage when hitting someone in the head or hitting someone lower than 50% HP or something like that. And then you're going to be having a great time, because all you have to do is just hit them once, and then you're going to almost certain get an amazing kill. So those kinds of kill confirming perks are really going to make a huge difference to you. Anyway, we're just going to try and see if we can actually survive this. We might have some issues. No, okay, there we go. That was a little bit better, and that guy's dead as well. Very nice. And now all we have to do is finish this guy off. Should be simple. Oh, no, he's actually switching to his one-hander. All right, kind of interesting. Not sure why he's doing that, but I'm going to go for the headshot, or I'm trying to go for the... Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that's what I absolutely love about Bannerlord, by the way. It's one of those things that is such a wonderful quality of life improvement when it comes to spear usage, because it's literally a case of, well, you're no longer attacking in one direction only, because that's the one thing that I think was holding spears back in Warband, because in Warband you could only thrust most of the time, unless you had a slashing polearm as well. But yeah, only thrusting in one direction, kind of harsh. Whereas when you're playing Bannerlord, obviously you can do the thrust from up above, and you can do the thrust from down below, and that's obviously much better in regards to its modifier and adaptability and everything. Because then you're going to be able to keep the opponent guessing. You can actually get around their block instead of them just, blocking randomly and being able to very easily avoid damage. Anyway, I'm just going to wait here for a little bit of time. I'd like to regenerate myself a little bit, and then maybe we can pick off one of those vassals if the enemy army actually starts moving away from us. Because as you can see right there, he's still there. He's waiting. Is he waiting? No, he's actually doing battle with Kareth, maybe. Oh, no. Kareth is actually doing a siege. All right. Okay, that kind of makes sense, doesn't it? All right, let me just move by here, because Mr. Vartar, that we actually eliminated beforehand, is now making his way over here. We're just going to vote on this guy. We're going to just continue to gain as much relation with everyone as we can. Just trying to try to level up our charm skill as well, of course, because I do need that. I actually wonder when when am I gonna level up? Oh, I'm actually pretty close to leveling up, but I don't think, not entirely sure if I'm gonna get an attribute point for it or anything like that. As you can see, Bruce just won the tournament, and I literally gained 6,700 for his effort. Can you imagine? 6,700 just from me doing nothing. That's pretty good, That is pretty good. That's actually one of the main reasons why I was talking about that in a previous episode, where I was basically just saying, well, put a really good combat companion in some town somewhere or another, and you're probably going to earn some pretty decent cash without having to do much at all. So definitely something to consider there. But anyway, as you can see, Kareth does seem to have lured the army away and has actually now defeated them, surprisingly enough. Okay, I actually wonder whether I have impacted his ability to win. Not sure if I've actually assisted him at all here, because we have been eliminating a bunch of vassals in the area, which almost certainly has made a difference to their troop quality, because of course their troop quality is then going to have to be replenished. They're going to have to train them up, do battles, so on and so forth. Maybe they're just going to pull some people out of a garrison nearby, which is more than likely what they've done. However, that does mean that they have that process to go through, because if they have to go through the process, then it's going to make so much more difference to us in a long-term fashion. Because if we make it so that the enemy has to lose units over and over again, and they have to go and, go to these... go to these garrisons and go to these villages and so on and so forth to recruit these people, it's really going to make a huge difference to their overall mobility when it comes to going into an army or attempting to besiege something or, perform some sort of counterattack. It could really make a big difference, or at least I hope it is. I hope it is making a big difference. But look at how much damage I'm actually able to deal with this polearm. extremely surprised. I mean, that's the funny thing. I say I'm surprised, but I'm mostly surprised because I only have 150, 160 in polearms. When doing this amount of damage, you kind of think maybe you'd be doing, you know, you'd have more, right? So it now begs the question, do you actually need to be high ranked in the various weapon skills to be able to deal damage with them? And it seems like, especially when it comes to the polearm itself, maybe not. Maybe you don't actually need to have higher proficiency in these weapon skills, because you can literally just do this kind of damage as long as you have a proper weapon. So I'm now thinking to myself, maybe my previous statement in this, you know, in this episode, in this very episode in actual fact, was a bit of a moot point. Maybe I didn't have to go on a semi-rant about it. I don't know, because maybe you don't have to be good at weapon skills, or don't have to be particularly proficient in them at all to actually deal damage and to actually eliminate opponents. Because as it stands right now, I mean, you can see me right there. I don't even know how many kills I've gotten so far. Let's take a look on the casualty screen after the battle is over. Let's take a look. Look at that. I was able to get 14 kills. And while 14 kills, I don't know whether that's any good to you. Maybe you think it's bad, maybe you think it's good. Doesn't really matter either way, I suppose. But what I'm trying to say is, I was able to get 14 kills with a relatively mediocre amount of weapon proficiency. So, as I said before, maybe you do not need to level those things up into the stratosphere. You know, maybe you don't need 275 in every single weapon skill to actually be good with that weapon. I don't know, or to actually deal damage, should I say. Because being good with a weapon, quote unquote, is not really determined by your skill. At least that is how it is in Bannerlord. I think in general, if you have around 125 to 150 in the weapon skill, you should be doing enough damage as long as you have a good weapon. Although, to be fair, that might just be the polearm talking, because this polearm, as I say, is one of my favorites. It really is super, super good. Anyway, I'm thinking we might go for some leadership here. Or maybe I should go for something else like scouting. I don't know. Yeah, maybe I should, or maybe I should just go for one-handed. I mean, generally going for one-handed might be much better, or I could just go for leadership, because leadership in the end is going to give me +1 to party size for each leadership point above 250. I mean, that's the thing. If I go for social, okay, and this is obviously, you know, harking back to that whole thing, but if I go for social, and I go for 8 in that, which is inevitable at this point, I'm going to need to get a couple more levels, which is going to be difficult as it is. But let's say that I do go for that, then eventually I will be able to get to 275 in leadership, because we will maybe have 5 focus points in that as well. Okay, fine. Let's go for some leadership. I don't know whether it's going to be that useful, but I'm going to go for it nevertheless. Stop. Let's just go in here. Oh, this is going to be a super easy, okay, super easy, nice little auto-resolve there. Super, super simple. Okay. And I actually do need to go to a city, because I have a bunch. Oh, look at this. Ortisia actually is rebelling. Okay. Well, that's interesting. I never would have expected that. Unkid has been taken prisoner by the VLANDians. Okay, good to know. Let's ransom my prisoners right now. Just going to get rid of them so we can actually start moving around that much faster. It's very, very important that we move around fast. And Kareth has now eliminated and indeed taken that VLANDian army prisoner and barely lost anything. As you can see, he had around 980 units in his army, and he now has around 850. So he lost about 100 units in that entire combat action, which I gotta say is astounding. I never would have expected him to lose such a small amount, especially considering the VLANDians do seem to have a pretty good combat strength. I mean, you can see here, it is less than the Azariah at the moment, but it's still relatively good, you know? It's not a bad combat strength whatsoever. And you can see here, the Crusade, obviously, Western Empire looking very, very strong right now. Britannia is looking a little bit stronger as well. Southern Empire, not so much. Sturgia, yes. But I'm very much looking forward to seeing what happens, because obviously the Death for All mod is still enabled. We're still losing clans left, right, and center. Anyway, that's going to be it for this episode. I thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.